Hello, my library friends. I don't have Tippy with me right now because this is a nighttime broadcast and she is in bed. But I do have show and tell. Can you see something in this cup that does not belong? Let's see, we have dice that have letters on them. These are red. And we have dice with letters on them that are black. And then we have this. You know what this is? This is one of Tippy's eggs. Its name is Egbert. And I've got to put it away very carefully or she'll be angry with me. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to start doing some longer stories so that this will fit for like 4 years old and up. But today I'd like to do one of my very favorite stories. It is called Peter Rabbit, and it's by Beatrix Potter. And she always did her own pictures. She was never going to let anybody else do them for her. So, here we go. I'm reading it on a Kindle. The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, and Peter. And here is a picture of all 4 of the little rabbits. This is where they live, at the base of a fir tree. Yes, and you can see they look like they're smaller than he is, but I think it's just that Peter is closer. But you can see in the background Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and right up front here, whoops, is Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor." And here she is, getting her children ready to go out and play. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail are in red jackets, just like Riding Hood. And who's that in blue? I think that's Peter Rabbit. "Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out." She's such a good mother. Look at this. She's doing up the buttons for Peter now. Flopsy and Mopsy and Cottontail are already finished. He's ready to go now. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. I think that's 1 apiece. And there she goes, in her shopping clothes. She has a little Red Riding Hood too, and she's still wearing her apron, and she has a nice basket over her arm. Now, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. And here is a picture of the good little bunnies. I'm trying to get that so there's no glare. Let's see, is that better? I think that is better. You can see them. Oh, and I think I see some little birds down at the bottom who are trying to get the ones that spill out. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. And there he goes. Let's see. Ah! You see him? Oh no, Peter, take care of your jacket. First, he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Oh, look at that greedy little Peter Rabbit. Nom, 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 nom. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. Did you know that parsley is supposed to be very good for the stomach? It's one of those things you learn from Beatrix Potter. Let's see, here is a picture. Gotta get it just so, there we go. Oh, look, he's holding his tummy. Oh, Peter, you ate too much. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Oh no, doesn't he look scary? Oh, and he's so close. Oh, run, Peter! Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees, planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling, "Stop, thief!" And let's see. Da-da-da-da. It's hard in the daytime, but it's harder at night with the light glaring. There you go. You see Peter running at the bottom, and behind him you see Mr. McGregor holding up the rake and shouting, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten his way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe he lost amongst the potatoes. Now, the picture I'm about to show you shows one of the shoes down. I think these are the cabbages. And if I can get it over a little bit more. Yes, the little birdies found it. But it's too heavy for her to carry to Peter. Oh well. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. And here he is. Oh, he's upside down and he is stuck. Oh, Peter. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Thank you, sparrows. And there they are, being encouraging. Peter is very grateful, I'm sure. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop up on the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Oh, here is Mr. McGregor holding the sieve. Oh, run! Run, Peter! Help him out, sparrows! And he rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. You see, it is a watering can, and I think there's still water in it. Oh dear. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Kerchoo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. And here's a picture of Mr. McGregor looking underneath all of the flower pots. There we go. And if you look carefully, you can see the watering can with two little ears sticking out at the top. That's our Peter. And Mr. McGregor tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Ooh. You see that big shoe? Up at the top, that is Mr. McGregor's foot. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity, lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. And here you can see him. I believe in this picture he is looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the woods. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. And look, you can see a big tear rolling down his cheek. Yes, he's leaning against the door now. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. And there we go. Here is a picture of the white cat. Okay, let's get this in focus. There. Okay, you see the white cat? And look down below. You can see 1, 2, 3 goldfish. She is so interested in the goldfish that she does not notice Peter Rabbit standing behind her. Shh, Peter. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. And you can see that. Yes, here's Peter in the front, and right around the middle you can see Mr. McGregor working in the garden. But beyond that, on the other side of the meadow is, yes, the garden wall. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Yay! Here he goes. And he's going underneath the gate. And his little bird friends are cheering him on. Yay! Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. And this is the scarecrow Mr. McGregor made out of his clothes. But you know what? I don't think those birds are at all impressed. There's a robin sitting on top of it, and those blackbirds on the ground don't look to me as if they're fooled at all. Oh, he was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole, and he shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. Oh, I think she's stirring up some vegetable soup, and she's watching Peter as he lies there completely exhausted. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoon to be taken at bedtime. See, You see? There she is, finishing up supper. She's taking care of the other 3 bunnies and getting ready to give some medicine to Peter. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. And poor Peter did not. And that, my friends, is the end. Now, before we go, we haven't done any songs, so put up one hand like this, hold it up with the other like that. You ready? Skin-a-ma-rinky-dinky-dink, skin-a-ma-rinky-doo, I love you. Skin-a-ma-rinky-dinky-dink, skin-a-ma-rinky-doo, I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Skin-a-ma-rinky-dinky-dink, skin-a-ma-rinky-doo, I love you. I miss you all, and I'll see you next time.